New brand alert, although they're not super new. They were actually established in 2014, but this might be the first time that you're seeing them. And if it is, I hope you like air sacs. Such a weird name for cushioning. Yo, what's good guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review, including a performance review, so stay tuned on these potential bad boys right here. This is a kind of new brand to a lot of US consumers. It's not new to Chinese consumers. This is a brand called Rigorer. The model itself is called the War Ender. They do have a US store. I just didn't see this model available on there anymore. They do have a couple of other models. I will say right off the bat, do not buy them. This is their main model. This is the one with all the tech. The other ones I have checked out and they are just not worth anybody's time or money. So stay away from those things. But with all that being said, you will see these most likely on the feet of the Hillbilly Mamba or the Hillbilly Kobe. I prefer to call him Hillbilly Mamba just because it sounds cooler. But Austin Reaves, he plays for the Lakers at this current time. This is supposed to be the shoe that he's going to be wearing. He signed with this brand. Overseas players, Jimmer Fredette, if you guys remember that guy, he famously is a Mormon that can shoot threes like nobody's business.
Is he the New Balance guy?
No.
Is there another Jimmer who was a New Balance guy?
No, Jimmer's worn a bunch of shoes. I think before this he wore 361, and before that he actually wore Spalding, and we do have a review on those. Those were actually really good shoes. I don't think you can find them anymore. I don't even know if the Spalding makes shoes anymore.
Remember when basketballs?
They do make basketballs, but unfortunately they're no longer the official ball of the NBA.
Oh really?
Wilson
is. It Wilson?
It's those little dinky Wilson balls. I hate those things, but everybody plays with them, so whatever. I'm a TF 1000 guy, the real ones, not the new ones, the OG ones.
I'm a JC 2000.
But anyways, like I was saying, this is the shoe that's got all of the brand's tech in it. Their main feature though is what they're calling air sac cushioning. So I was not f***ing around earlier, even though I was. It's just that's what they call it. I don't remember if this is an ETPU or a P-Bax, especially nowadays because they all look the same. Like they all look like this pellet stuff that's injected with like hot air and everything like that. But the shoe came with this guy right here. Some of you guys that are longtime sneakerheads will see this and be like, yo, are you sure this is not Adidas? I'm pretty sure. But Adidas did that thing too. They had the whole trick. It's pretty cool, isn't it? It's super lightweight, but it is a little bit more dense than the Boost products that you're used to seeing or feeling on your feet. But
it sounds like plastic.
It sounds hollow, like a tennis ball almost, or like a, what's those blue balls that you like? Like a racket ball? I don't know what it is, but it sounds like that. And yeah, so it is still bouncy. It's just that on feet, it's a little bit like more dense and everything. And with all that being said, we did have a second pair of these, so we sent them over to Alan so that he can do a performance review. And with all of that, here you go.
What's up, WearTesters family? My name is Alan, and today I'm giving you a performance review on the Rigorer War Ender basketball shoes. Really quickly, this colorway is giving me major Dragon Ball Z vibes. I love watching that show as a kid. Shout out to all the Dragon Ball Z fans out there. The first thing we can talk about is the upper material of the shoe and how it relates to performance. The upper does feel fairly light on foot compared to other shoes that have more padding on the upper. The outer layer of the upper is sort of this ripstop feeling shroud, and it kind of reminds me of some of the Way of Wade shoes, especially the ones where you zip them up. Like most shoes today, since the upper is made out of entirely synthetic materials, the break-in time for the upper is very little. Now you might think that since the shoe is covered in this ripstop shroud material that it has a sock-like feel, but really the inner lining of the shoe is still pretty padded as you go into the midfoot area, and it only really has that sock-like feel in the forefoot area. Another quick pro about the upper is that it feels like it's gonna be very durable for outdoor play. Also, it's very easy to clean compared to other materials. Let's talk about support. My favorite support feature for this shoe is this dedicated Achilles pillow that it has over here. My only gripe about it though is that the material is very stiff. It does get a little softer after you play with it for a while, but it's still not to the extent as I wish it to be. Again, I'm thankful that it's even there in the first place. Another important support feature that the shoe has is this carbon plate that you can see right under the shoe. As you can see, that carbon plate covers a significant amount of area. It even reaches up up into the forefoot area of the shoe. So it does a really great job of not overfolding that shoe for you. I feel like this significant carbon plate makes the shoe feel a little too stiff for my own liking. I do wonder if they could have gotten away with a smaller carbon plate. If that carbon plate was a little smaller, or if it didn't extend to the forefoot area as much, the shoe may have felt a little more flexible, and overall the shoes would have moved with my feet a little better. Again, that's my own personal preference. The overall stiff feeling of the shoe may not just be attributed to the carbon plate itself. Unfortunately, the traction was inconsistent for me, but when the traction did work, it worked pretty well. In fact, these shoes' traction performance actually worked for me better outdoors than it did indoors. And that may ultimately be because of the rubber composition of the outsole. The translucent outsole features the classic herringbone traction pattern. When I played outdoors, the bite on the traction was very good. That rubber plus the herringbone traction pattern really worked in its favor when I was outside. The only outdoor surface that I played in is sort of this hard court tennis type of surface. If you play in another type of surface outdoors, it may work a little differently. The traction threads themselves feel not as pliable, but they are very shallow, so I am not 100% certain if they will last outdoors very long. Somehow the rubber composition just didn't react as well when it was indoors. It performed well on the cleaner courts, but it was on the dustier courts that I really had a problem with the shoe. It picked up dust just very quickly, and I found myself wiping a lot. My favorite feature of the traction though are these Outrigger Waves that you see on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. They're very reminiscent of how the outsole extends in most of the Kyrie shoes. It's very useful for players who like to change movement a lot and are very shifty, kind of like how Kyrie Irving puts his foot in these really unconventional angles because he's changing movements so quickly. For example, for one specific play, I went in to drive and stopped on a dime, and I found my foot going at a really weird angle, but I specifically remembered this wrapping near my toe sticking to the ground, and it allowed me to stop and go for an up and under move and score. I did see on their online store that they did have a couple of models that had a solid rubber outsole. So if you do go for that option, it may work differently for you, and hopefully it's a little better for you indoors. This specific pair that I have with me is actually already a full size larger than my true to size. For context, I only go up half a size when I play because I play with ankle braces, but when I first tried this on, even without ankle braces, it felt very tight in the midfoot area. My personal ankle braces are a little wider. They have these solid pieces on each side. I was still able to fit my feet with my ankle braces inside, but I wouldn't say that it was the most comfortable experience. If the tongue was its own separate piece and not connected to the rest of the shoe, it would have been a little more ankle brace friendly and maybe even wide foot friendly. I have regular feet, but I think people with wide feet will have to overcompensate a little more than usual. The problem though with overcompensating is that the shoe's length will also increase. If you have wide feet and you don't really like a lot of toe box area, I think it'll be a little tricky for you to find the right sizing if you do go for these. I've already mentioned the shank plate earlier, but what sits on top of that carbon plate is their own version of boost. It's more on the firmer side rather than the cushy side. I think the cushion setup itself is solid overall. My feet didn't feel tired after 2 to 3 hour sessions. Ultimately, I do appreciate all the modern tech that they packed into the shoe, but I do wish that that traction performance worked better for me indoors, since I do play indoors more than outdoors. If you're looking to be adventurous and seeking to spice up your shoe rotation, these shoes may be worth looking into. Just be cautious of the things that I mentioned to you. If you've watched all the way to the end, again, I'd like to thank you so much for supporting the WearTesters YouTube channel. My name is Alan, and I'll see you on the next performance review. Peace.